Hey there, ready for another deep dive? Today, we're diving into the world of introversion.
But not in like a textbook way.
Yeah, exactly. Here we're
Ugh.
going way beyond clinical definitions and getting into real lived experiences,
Yeah.
from the Introverts subreddit.
Which is so fascinating, the subreddit, I mean. What I love about it is how it like takes apart how introversion is normally defined, you know? It's
Yeah.
more like people sharing their everyday, like awkward encounters and those little wins and how they try to connect with others, but like on their own terms.
It's like we get to listen in on a hidden community, right?
Mhm.
And one thing that we noticed going through all this
Yeah,
is just how different everyone's experience with introversion is.
it's true.
Like, take this one post we saw, the user talks about this, like introvert continuum, right?
Okay, yeah.
And they're trying to figure out where they land on the scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, I love that.
With 1 being like a total hermit living under a rock,
Haha.
and 10 being a, as they put it, normal person.
Ah, yes. The classic introvert dilemma, right? I feel like it just shows how we kind of like internalize all these expectations from society,
Yeah.
even when it's something as personal as how we like to recharge or be social.
For sure. Oh, and they put themselves at a 6, by the way.
A solid 6, okay.
But it got me thinking, does seeing it as a spectrum, instead of just introvert or extrovert, like a yes or no thing,
Right.
does that actually change how we see ourselves and other people?
I think it definitely adds like more depth because we're not just black or white, you know?
Right.
This reminds me of that Myers-Briggs test everyone's always taking.
Oh, yeah.
People criticize it because it's a little too simple, maybe.
Yeah.
But it can be fun to think about, and sometimes you can relate to parts of different personality types depending on what's going on, you know?
Yeah. Like in that other post titled Ambivert,
Okay.
the person was saying how having kids kind of pushed them more toward the middle.
Well, interesting.
Like they were becoming more ambiverted. Do you think life can actually, like, change where we fall on that spectrum?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, some psychologists believe that our like core temperament,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that kind of natural leaning towards being more introverted or extroverted, usually stays pretty much the same.
Okay.
But how that actually looks in our life, how we adapt to different situations,
Mm.
that can totally change. Like, it's kind of like learning a new language, right?
Wow.
The more you're around it, the easier it gets, even if it's tough at the beginning.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of it being fixed, it's more that our needs and preferences change over time.
So we learn to handle different social situations depending on what's happening.
Exactly. And part of that is understanding and respecting our own energy levels.
Oh, you mean like the whole social battery idea?
Yes, exactly that.
Which, by the way, is huge in this subreddit.
Of course, yeah. And it's not just like, oh, I'm a little tired after that party. It's more like, how do I put it?
Like a real energy drain.
Exactly. Social interaction takes a lot from us, you know?
Totally. It's like that battery icon on your phone slowly draining.
Yes. And we need to recharge alone.
And this subreddit is full of people dealing with that, like in their everyday lives.
Hmm.
I'm thinking with this one, someone compared being at this loud Italian club
Oh, no.
to a whole week of like really tough work.
Wow. Yeah, for some people, those environments with so much going on,
Yeah.
like, it can be really draining. It's like running a marathon. You wouldn't just, you know.
Jump in unprepared.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have a plan. Pace yourself and then recover after.
Totally.
Yeah.
So instead of packing snacks, we're packing our noise-canceling headphones.
Aha, yes.
But a lot of the posts also talk about balancing the need to be alone with, well, other people's expectations,
Hmm.
especially in relationships.
Oh, absolutely. Like, remember that post about needing alone time on vacation?
Yeah, even with their partner's family there.
It's classic, you know?
Yeah.
That introvert-extrovert thing. It must be tricky.
Yeah, for sure. You want to spend time with everyone, but
Yeah.
then...
You just need a break.
Exactly. And you feel guilty.
Yeah.
So how do we balance that
Yeah.
without seeming rude?
It's all about communication and boundaries.
Oh, okay.
It's saying no sometimes. It's not selfish, it's self-care.
Right. Not being afraid to say, you need some quiet time.
Yeah, you don't need some big excuse. Just be honest.
Easier said than done sometimes.
I know. But even something like, hey, I'd love to, but I'm kind of tapped out socially today, maybe tomorrow.
Just being upfront.
Yeah. Because if we're always pushing ourselves, we get resentful.
Yeah, that's not good for anyone.
Exactly. So it's finding that middle ground.
Waging, but
Also taking time for ourselves.
makes sense. And speaking of connecting, a lot of these posts are about wanting close connections, but like...
On their terms.
Yes.
It shows you, you know, introverts do want those connections.
It's just different.
Exactly.
Like that post, the 25-year-old with, quote, actually no friends.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
It's tough. There's so much pressure to be social, especially when you're young.
It's true. And for some people, it's just harder.
Totally.
Yeah.
And even when you have friends, finding those deeper connections,
That takes work. It's like, what's that puzzle called with the maze?
labyrinth.
Yes. You might hit a dead end, but then
Yeah.
you find something special.
Love that. And some posts talked about those, what they call them, filler friends.
Right. They're nice enough, but something's
Man,
missing.
you're not going to stay up all night talking about, I don't know, the universe with them.
Exactly. It's not that deep. So how do you find those closer connections then?
Without changing who you are.
You have to be patient, be picky in a good way. Don't be scared to be yourself.
Because the right people will love that.
100%. And those relationships, they're the best.
Like, some people think you have to be outgoing to be happy, but for others, it's being around people who get that.
Yeah, having those quiet moments that just feel right
Totally. Finding that space where you can just be yourself.
and not feel like you have to put on a show.
Which, speaking of, there's this whole thread in the subreddit about, those times when people just don't get introverts.
It's tricky because what feels normal to us,
Yeah.
other people might think it's weird.
Like that post. I think they were on a Zoom call for work, and they were told they weren't chatty enough.
Oh, no.
All they said was, "Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you."
It's like, what do you want from me? Sometimes you don't have anything to add to the conversation.
Seriously, it can feel like everyone's expected to be on all the time.
Right, like
Yeah.
you always have to be contributing. And then when you do speak up,
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, no one even heard you.
It's like they only value certain kinds of communication.
Yeah, and it's too bad because introverts often bring so much to the table. They're thoughtful.
Listeners.
Exactly. They see things differently.
So how do you handle all that? Like when you're being talked over
Or
or
you feel like you have to act like someone you're not. Well, I think some introverts, they find ways to push themselves.
to speak up?
Yeah, when it really matters to them.
Finding their voice.
Exactly. But for others, it's about protecting their energy,
Okay?
surrounding themselves with people who get it.
Because it's important to remember that you're valuable, even if you're not the loudest one in the room.
100%. And, going through all these posts, what really stood out to me was the sense of community.
Yeah.
Like people realizing, oh, I'm not the only one.
It's like they found their people.
Yes, like that post about wanting a partner they could just be quiet with.
And everyone was so supportive in the comments.
Right. It's a good reminder that even when we're alone, we're not alone, if that makes sense.
It does. It's like finding those people who really get you, that makes all the difference.
Totally.
Looking at all of this from introverts, it makes you wonder, how much of ourselves do we hide just to fit in?
It makes you think.
And what if we embrace those quieter parts of ourselves? Like, it's not a bad thing. It's just who we are.
Such a good point.
This has been so interesting, getting to really see all these different sides of introversion.
It has.
And to anyone listening who's feeling seen right now,
Mm-hmm.
you're amazing just as you are. Don't forget that. Until next time.